Welcome to Waxing Comical. It's me, Luke, and guess who else? It's Dane. Hey, Dane. Say
Also,
hi.
Dane. Hey,
Say hi, Dane.
Hi, Dane.
Dane.
Hi, Dane.
Hey, Dane.
I said it. Okay, just give me my family back.
No.
Is that you singing? Is that what
No.
singing sounds like to you?
No, it's me imitating a kidnapper who happens to sing, yes.
He was on Broadway.
I was getting in character. He's got a whole backstory. I don't want to get into it.
His name's Clyde. He raises kids that aren't his.
Yeah, and he used to have dreams. In this episode, we talk about, I guess, the Comic Bento and just generally what we've been reading lately. It's not a...
I've been reading Miracle Man lately.
You have, and you talk about that. Not really a very thematic episode compared to what we've been doing. But,
I don't think thematic's a word. I think you're thinking of cinematic.
It's not as cinematic of an episode as we usually have. But we were trying to stick to a deadline because we're professionals.
Goddamn professionals.
You said it, Dane. You said it. Anyway, follow us on Twitter at Waxing Comical.
Waxing Comical at Waxing Comical. Twitter at twitter.com at Waxing Comical.
/Twitter.
/ the Twitters with Waxing Comical.
And let us know what you think of us because we want to know.
I think we're real pieces of shit.
Yeah. Yeah, we can take the tough criticism though, because we're hard. We're real hard.
Hard men. Prison gay porn hard.
You know, figuratively speaking.
No.
Can they see me winking?
They can probably feel it, you know?
Deep
like
in
they
their
just have
souls.
a chill go down their spine.
That's what I was aiming for. Enjoy the episode.
Enjoy it.
Or don't.
It's probably good. I don't know, I don't pay attention to these things.
Yeah. I'm drunk the entire time.
Just drunk? Pussy.
That's just all I'm willing to say on public record.
Because you're of age for drinking. He's also renting cars.
I would never rent a car. I would download a car. But I wouldn't rent a car.
Would you download a bear?
Oh. Sounds dangerous.
Wasn't that like a thing? Like you wouldn't download a bear. Why would you download a file or some crap like that?
Because that's the same thing.
It was like a picture I saw where it was that thing, and then someone in the comments was like, fuck you, I would download a bear, that'd be awesome.
It's a free bear. Wait, so is it like an adult bear, or is it like a bear cub that you can raise as your own?
I would hope bear cub, because it would be so fun to raise a baby bear cub.
Also,
you'd wrestle with it every day, it would be scared of you.
Also, if you're 3D printing these things, I don't know how you're downloading them, but I assume there's a 3D printer involved. That's going to be a lot more resources if it's an adult bear, and that could get expensive.
I don't know, it could just be like displacing it. Like Gantz was just, like that was a 3D printer for people, but it just took... Well, you know what? What did it make them out of? Because it did say they were like copies.
Dane, that was a comic.
Jeez.
We're talking about downloading a bear in real life here.
This is a whole can of worms.
Can we be serious for a minute?
for 1 minute. Alright, so, like we said a while ago, enjoy the episode. It's probably good.
Not as good as this intro.
Oh, this intro music I love it. So divine. I mean, cool, rad in a manly way.
Ugh. Brawny? Like the paper towel?
They got rid of his mustache.
Who? Who got rid of his mustache?
The brawny people, got rid of the brawny man's mustache.
They held him
years
down.
ago.
They held him down and shaved it off, or did they wax it? Because that's diabolical.
Well, they probably shaved it, and there was probably like those, like, you know, dots of black stubble. So they had to like wax it after that to get all the roots out.
Those monsters. All right, have fun. Bye.
Yep. Bye-sy daisies.
You've been reading Miracle Man, I hear?
Yeah, I'm on, actually I just finished, I finished book 2, but like it's like the main story I'm finished with, because there's a couple of backup stories at the end of it, so I'm not technically done with volume 2. Yeah.
Out
It's really
of
good, though.
2.
Out of what?
Out of 2.
3.
That's
For Alan Moore stuff, anyway.
ah.
Then there will be at least 3 for Neil Gaiman stuff. Which are called, the Golden Age, the Silver Age, and the Dark Age, I think.
I'm still pretty sure it's Gaiman. Pretty sure you're
I'm gonna
real
say
wrong.
what I want.
He will sue.
Show me the proof. He said my name wrong. It's not pronounced Tim Burton.
Helena!
I had this hairstyle first.
Bring me the phone, Helena!
Yeah, maybe she left Tim Burton for Neil Gaiman.
But like on accident? Like she just passed him on the street and was like, hey honey, oh, you going to the new house?
Like they were, all 3 of them were at the market one day, and she was holding hands with Tim Burton, and then she looked down and realized she was holding hands, well, didn't realize, but she was holding hands with Neil Gaiman, and then just went home with him. And she's just been like too afraid to be like, did we move?
Why is everyone calling you Neil? Should I call you Neil? So, how old is this Miracle Man comic?
I think it started in 1984, I want to say.
So, real old.
Yeah, pretty damn old. But I mean, like, I've never really read an 80s comic that I haven't really enjoyed. But then again, I don't read too many. I read the ones that I already hear are really good, so I guess that makes sense. Like Animal Man and Watchmen and stuff.
Yeah, I think Watchmen's the only
fans.
80s comic I've read.
I've read a fair amount. I mean, mostly like Alan Moore, Frank Miller, and Grant Morrison. I don't know.
The only people that were writing comics back then.
I read this Green Lantern comic that was actually pretty good, but it was like the 80s version of his origin story, which involved him drunk driving, and I think putting a friend into a coma or something. It was fine, but Jeff Johns' Secret Origin is the best version of his origin.
Who wrote that? The older one?
Jeez, I have no clue. But they did a sequel. It was called Emerald Dawn, and then they did Emerald Dawn 2, which was about Sinestro's downfall.
Emerald Dawn 2. Emerald Noon.
Emerald Dawner. And I read Man of Steel, which was a John Byrne comic, which was like Superman's new origin after Crisis on Infinite Earths, when they rebooted everything.
Was it just the script for the movie?
No, it actually took place over the course of like 10 or 15 years, and he didn't become Superman until he was like 25, so he was like older than I would have thought. I don't remember exactly how old now. It was a few years since I read it, but I remember thinking like he should have been Superman long before this.
So he was never Superboy?
No, until Jeff Johns reestablished that he had been Superboy, like not that many years ago comparatively, Superboy no longer existed. So neither did the Legion of Superheroes, actually. He like took all that out, and then they just slowly trickled back in, which was for the best because Jeff Johns wrote some Superboy that was awesome.
Do you think that's just going to be like the cycle that comics go through forever? Like after a few more years, they'll
every other time Superboy doesn't exist.
Yeah, or just a bunch of people don't exist. Like they'll just kind of phase everyone out and then bring them back in. Just kind of go back and forth.
In the New 52, Superman was never Superboy. He didn't properly become Superman until Action Comics, pretty much. Maybe a few months before that, but he was never active as a kid being a superhero.
No, but he looked like
He
Christopher
couldn't even
Reeve.
fly. Yeah, with his giant head.
Someone would have recognized him. Oh, there's that kid that looks like no other child. Wonder who that is.
A grown-ass man's head. Catching footballs, breaking arms.
Who was that? Who wrote or who drew that? Was that Gary Frank?
That was Gary Frank.
Yeah, because he's usually so good.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if that's what he was going for, then he did real well.
Yeah, I mean, he clearly based him on Christopher Reeves. The problem was that in the movie wasn't. Yeah, in the Superman movie, he was played by somebody else when he was like a teenager.
So he wasn't even a teenager. He was like 12 or something, wasn't he?
Right.
He looked real young.
It was hard to tell, because he was clearly in high school, so he must have been at least 14.
Okay.
But he looked like he could have. But that's the thing with Jeff Johns is
I think to him the ages, like 8 to 16 are just like one thing. Like you have the same mentality in all of those years. I think, did we talk about this? I might have talked about it on the other one I'm on.
What?
About how in Shazam, the New 52 story, Billy and Freddy they're at least, I'm pretty sure Billy is 15. Freddy is probably between 14 and 16.
I think we did mention this, but yeah.
Okay, and their concept of money is that $20 is the most money, and that you can buy a case of beer for I think they had $5. I think you can buy a case of beer for $5. And also the tax doesn't exist, because Billy went and bought a jacket from a thrift shop for, I don't know, $10, and he got exactly $10 back in change.
Well, I mean, tax is just too complicated of a concept to start working into to comics. No one needs to be thinking about that.
I was going to say maybe Philadelphians. I think it was Philadelphia that they said it in. Philadelphians have no concept of tax. They just can't figure out the math.
You have to tell them exactly how much they're paying very slowly.
With pictures and flashcards.
So you said Max Landis's Superman comic is coming out soon?
Yeah, it comes out Wednesday.
Is that its own thing?
The 11th.
Like it's not part of the present continuity?
No, I don't think it can be, because I'm pretty sure he flies when he's young, which he couldn't do in the New 52. He didn't fly until issue 8 of Action Comics, when he was a grown ass man.
Has Max
he had to run and jump into space to get there.
But he did anyway, I bet.
Yeah, he totally did. General Lane was he's like, well, you need to be, our science boys say you need to be going at 25,000 miles an hour to, because he's gonna run and go up a ramp and shoot up into space. And he's like, you need to be going this fast. You've never been clocked at more than 600 miles per hour. And Superman's like, oh, well, I never had to go faster until now. Which is one is super douchey to say, and two is so cool. It's so Superman to say. Just humbly be like, oh, by the way, I'm better than all of you.
Yeah, I don't think that's douchey.
I'm so much better than I am.
I don't think that's douchey when you're Superman. And
I love that bit
entirely true.
In All-Star Superman. That's why All-Star Superman is one of my favorite versions of the character, because he's not a dick or conceited, but he's also not humble. He goes up to Lois Lane and he's like, here, I picked these flowers for you on Alpha Centauri 4. Why not?
A thank you would be nice.
Right, and she shot him with a kryptonite laser.
Bitch. Has Max Landis written any comics before?
I think he wrote a story in annual number 1 or 2 of Action Comics.
So no.
Pretty much, no. He was going to write that Death and Return of Superman comic that sounded really awesome. That never happened.
Yeah. If you haven't watched it, watch Max Landis' Death and Return of Superman on the YouTubes.
It's funny. Got Elijah Wood.
And Mandy Moore.
Mandy Moore.
And a bunch of other random cameos that...
Foggy Nelson from Daredevil.
That was him. Okay.
Yo!
It's been a while since I've seen it.
Ron Howard.
Chris Hardwick.
Oh, yeah. He was in that. Elijah Wood.
Zach from The Whitest Kids You Know.
Whitest Kids You Know, yeah. Elijah Wood.
Was Elijah Wood in it? I can't remember.
I think he was, I think.
Booster Gold?
Booster Gold! God, I love Booster Gold.
I know you do. And I still haven't read a thing with him in it.
Oh, he's fantastic. He was in All-Star Western with Jonah Hex for a few issues, because he got blasted back through time and became a sheriff, and his sheriff outfit consisted of a superhero spandex uniform with a duster.
I don't know. I heard that movie was bad. I
never saw the movie because it looked really terrible, but the comic's because the comic's just a Western. Whereas the movie was super. I'm sure there's I haven't finished the New 52 run yet, but there's probably some supernatural whatever stuff. But the movie was went heavy on that. I think he had a superpower where he could like bring dead bodies back to life to get information from them. Whereas before the New 52, I have one volume of his comic, but it's just a straight up Western.
His
it's
power
just him.
Was revolvers.
His power is shooting good. Yeah, it's really cool, and he's basically just Clint Eastwood with a messed up face.
So, Clint Eastwood.
The present day Clint Eastwood.
Alright. I can dig Westerns.
Yeah. There's only 6 volumes, too. Though he does... All-Star Western.
Okay.
He does end up in the present in, like, at the end of, like, volume 4. After the Booster Gold thing, he, like, ends up in present-day Gotham and they arrest him. Put him in Arkham.
For brandishing guns.
Yeah, he killed some muggers or something, and I'm pretty sure he, got lippy about, an African-American police officer. Not that he's racist, but he's from the 1800s.
But he's authentically Western.
Yeah, he's very authentic. It's by Jimmy... is it Justin Gray and Jimmy Palmiotti. There's this...
Doesn't ring a bell.
They wrote it before the New 52 as well. I guess they're pretty much just like the Jonah Hex writers of DC.
Do you think that's on purpose, or are they just kind of stuck?
They probably were just like, hey, you guys want to know other Western? They're like, yeah, and like nobody else raised their hands, kind of thing. And it's good. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying like nobody else has really had a hand in it. Like they've been the Western writers of DC for like 10 years or more.
I mean, it seems like writing that of all the New 52 comics kind of puts them in a position to not be involved in any other New 52 comics.
I think they write Starfire as well. So they do other things other than Westerns. Jimmy Palmiotti. I forgot what book it was, but I think he's also an artist, but I know most from like coloring. I think he did like Garth Ennis's Punisher, like he did the coloring for it. And I don't think it was a Garth Ennis book, but there was some book that he worked on, either coloring or doing the art, and somebody gave it a bad review on Amazon and like specifically called out whatever he did as being bad. And he responded through like his Amazon account, and I forgot what it was, but I remember it just being like, "Oh, dude, just it doesn't matter. You can just don't do that. Don't put yourself out there like that."
Poor guy.
So, Comic Bento.
Oh yeah, that was awesome. Getting it at least. Which
I heard you really loved Orchid.
I didn't. So Comic Bento came with 4 comics for the low price of like $20.
Which was as much as that Green Hornet comic cost by itself.
Yeah. Have you read that yet?
Not yet. I'm still read Miracle Man, man.
It's pretty good.
Yeah, I figured.
So yeah.
Wait, I have nothing against Green Hornet as like a character. It's just that the Seth Rogen movie wasn't even bad because I had zero expectations.
I never saw it.
Fine. It was just a fine Seth Rogen fun movie. I don't know. Who cares?
I mean, just since that movie came out, I have given zero thought to Green Hornet. Like, it just wasn't something that was in my consciousness.
They just did a crossover with Batman 1966.
What is that? Just an alternate Batman, or is it like someone else before Batman?
That's a Batman comic based on the TV show.
Oh.
Yeah.
Is it like... does it try to take itself seriously? And
I don't know. I haven't read it, but I know Mike Allred does the covers. That's the only draw factor for me.
All right. Does Adam West do the voice?
I can only assume.
You can just really feel it when you're reading it.
Doing the bat dance and whatnot.
Yeah. Okay. I guess I'll mention all the comics from Comic Bento in the reverse order that I've read them, because that's the order from worst to best. So the last thing I read was Orchid, which was by Tom Morello, the guitarist and not comic book writer. And it just...
Guitarist of what? Rage Against the Machine?
Rage Against the Machine, Audio Slave.
Okay. Never heard of him.
I think he was in something else. He's a good guitarist. I know that much. but he should probably stick to his day job.
Of being famous.
Yeah. So, Orchid is... I was going to say it's about this girl named Orchid who is blah blah blah, except she is
Made of flowers.
not, like, central to the story at all. She has not done anything important. She's just kind of there. So, like, basically the first few pages of the comic just are entirely exposition and tell you what happened to make the world the way it is, because he just doesn't know how to show and not tell. And it just takes place in the future, like after humans have kind of destroyed the Earth with pollution, I guess. So there was global warming, and the water levels rose, and now there's just wilderness everywhere, except for mountains and hills where all the rich people stay. And so there was some rebellion like some years ago, and this guy named General China led it. Which I thought it was going to be like he was some, Chinese nationalist that had come over and was leading this rebellion. And
Is he actually the wrestler?
no, it's just some kid whose name is China. But he has this mask, and it just basically looks like a leather sack. And then it turns out that it's magic, and whoever, like 99% of people who try it on, they just die, like their bones contort and they get all twisted up and they just die. But a few people are able to wear it and they get magic powers out of it, but they also don't say what those powers are. And so this group steals the mask back from the bad guys sometime after this rebellion, and one of them escapes, and most of the rest of them die, and he's just this nerdy guy who sounds like he speaks with a British accent, but it's a comic, so I can't really tell. And he finds...
Yeah, there was this character in Unity who I think it turned out he was, I want to say Irish, but for the first issue he appeared in, I could have sworn he went from, like, Boston to Scottish to, like, really Southern. It was a mess. And then I think when he shows up later, he just talks normal.
He travels a lot.
Like Madonna.
He's a very important man. So this guy finds... He stumbles into this village and meets this girl named Orchid, who is a prostitute.
Oh, that's the name of the god. Oh.
Yeah. And she's, like, kind of an ass. Like, the first thing you see her do is punching another prostitute in the stomach because that prostitute was crying because she had just been, like, double-teamed unwillingly.
Oh. So raped.
She got paid for it.
So?
Pretty much raped. The prostitutes do not seem to be, like, willing.
I was going to say, if the word unwilling is in there, then it's a rape. It doesn't matter how much money was exchanged.
Just a little reluctant. So he meets her and her younger brother and their mother. And so they get taken as slaves, which I didn't really understand because it seemed like she was already a slave. Like, there didn't seem to be any willing prostitutes there. So the bad guys take them, kill the girl's mother. And so now, like, the main characters of the story are this guy, Orchid, the prostitute, and her younger brother. But there's no character development for any of them, and they're all just kind of wandering along. It's just boring. Not much happens.
Is it volume 1, or is it like a full story?
No, it's volume 1. It's like 4 issues.
Yeah.
I think there's been at least 2 since then, but I have no interest in reading them. They escape from the slavers, and I assume Tom Morello like just finished watching Avatar before he read this or wrote this, because
the movie or the cartoon?
The cartoon, because there are a lot of animals in it that are just 2 other animals combined.
Oh wait, so the movie?
No, that was how it was in the comic, or not in the cartoon.
Was it?
Yeah. Like, every animal in that cartoon was 2 regular animals combined into one. There were, like, bird horses and... I don't know. the flying
People
bison.
squirrels.
Yeah. So they run into a flock of bear scorpions, which are just giant 6-legged bears with scorpion stingers.
Yeah, of course.
And they run into this old woman who lives in the forest, who it turns out was General China's lover. And she
How
can
old is
also,
General China?
I guess he, like, because I guess the rebellion happened a while ago, and he was older, but he was older at that point. It was kind of confusing. Like, it went from them being kids to suddenly he's the leader of the rebellion to she's an old woman in the forest.
Because I thought you meant that he was a kid, like, the whole time.
I mean, it kind of seemed like it happened faster than they were saying, but I don't know. She looked old enough.
Old enough for what?
To be old. And so she decides to take them out on their journey, and then they run into the bad guys again and barely escape
Ha! Get it there.
a cave-in through some tunnels they were in. But then, like, these monsters, these other weird hybrid monsters that were attacking them, reach through the rubble and grab the younger brother and pull him in. And then the Orchid is like, oh, my brother's dead, my mom's dead, I'm gonna avenge them both now. That's how it's gonna be. And that was the end of the volume.
Oh.
Yeah.
Riveting stuff.
It wasn't. It wasn't very good. It was just, no one seemed to have any emotion in the whole thing. They were just kind of watching stuff happen. I also remember the term scientist warlords was used at some point.
That sounds awesome.
You would think. So yeah, you should totally read that.
Oh, man.
Because I had to. And to be fair, it was the shortest of those books. It was only 4 issues.
Oh yeah, I was going to say Harbinger, but that's 5 issues.
Harbinger was 5. Green
That was
Hornet.
weird, because like most Valiant books are like 4 issues. More or less.
No, Harbinger was 5. Green Hornet was 6. I guess I haven't reread the Captain Marvel one, but I assumed that was at least 5. Because it's Marvel. So yeah, that wasn't that great. But Green Hornet, which I had never read anything of before or seen the movie and just kind of was vaguely aware of who he was, that was a good one.
The movie had Edward Furlong in it.
As Kato?
Nope. As a junkie, I think.
Oh, so
if
as
I'm
Edward
remembering
Furlong.
correctly. As modern day Edward Furlong. You know what was a good movie? Was Detroit Rock City.
I was just thinking about that. Because
They
of
had it
Edward
on-
Furlong.
They had it on Blu-ray for like $7.50 at Target the other day. I should buy that.
It's good, but it's kind of old to be $7.50.
Yeah, but it's on Blu-ray.
That's like
think-
that should be a $5 movie at this point.
I don't know if they do $5 Blu-rays unless they're on like a sale. Like these are just normally $7.50.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was a good movie.
I mean, it's the best movie about Kiss that I can think of.
What about Kiss? What is it? Kiss goes to like the Psycho Circus or whatever.
I haven't seen that.
It was some movie from like the 70s where they would go to like a haunted amusement park or something. This may be entirely wrong, but I'm
Was it
pretty
a
sure that's
crossover with Scooby-Doo?
It wasn't, but that's got to have happened at some point too. I mean, Scooby-Doo's on a crossover with John Cena, for God's sake.
Have they?
Yeah, recently.
I didn't know Scooby-Doo had anything recently.
Yeah, they have like a new show called like Be Cool Scooby-Doo or something.
Ugh.
I think that Kate McCucci plays.
That sounds like they're trying to calm down
Alpha.
Scooby-Doo, like he's got a gun and he's
Be cool,
he's
man.
freaking out. Just be cool, Scooby. You
We'll
want some
get you
snacks?
Scooby snacks. You want a sandwich tied together with a piece of string?
So yeah, Green Hornet was good. It was like if Batman
Is it-
was
when
a
is it-
double
when is it
agent.
set? When is it set? Is it like the 30s?
I thought it was the 30s, but I thought they mentioned the war, and I thought they were talking about World War II at some point. So It might have been 40s.
I love that term,
The
the
war.
war. It's like a Frisky Dingo when they always just say, on the streets of the town. The war. That could mean World War One.
Yeah, that's true. I can't remember the exact context of it, so it might have been that they were talking about World War One. But it's definitely like a 30s aesthetic.
Yeah, it's definitely not the modern day.
Yeah, no, definitely not.
I know the movie was in the modern day.
I mean, the whole thing is about the main character, Green Hornet. His alter ego runs a newspaper, so it's definitely not the modern day.
He runs an iPad dispensary.
Though at the end, I think he quits the newspaper and decides to run a radio station instead.
Wait, he quits the newspaper that he owns?
Yeah, I'm not really sure how that worked, because he, like...
Is that a thing that people could do?
He clearly inherited the newspaper from his father, but then, I guess, like, the board has enough power to kick him out or something. And he's like, you can't fire me, I quit.
Wow, that's really petty.
Radio's the new newspaper. It was good. It's good crime comic.
How's Kato?
Kato was pretty badass.
Is it Kato or should it be Kato?
It probably should be Kato.
Ever since I saw Gantz, I've been unclear on how his name is supposed to be pronounced, or if it was just 1930s racism.
I mean, that sounds about right. Unless I'm just confusing him with the Pink Panther's assistant.
God damn it! I meant Pink Panther.
What'd you say?
I knew it was I said Green Hornet. I knew it was a color and an animal.
They're practically the same thing. No, Pink Panther's Kato was just, I assume, also a Japanese man who would jump out and.
Was he even Japanese? Were they at the point where they could use Japanese people in movies?
Don't know.
As opposed to Mickey Rooney.
Mickey Rooney played all minorities back then.
In Japanese Star Trek, apparently Sulu is called Mr. Kato.
Why?
Which is, I don't know, but that is in the English translation of Gantz, the Dark Horse translation of it. Kato's name is Mr. Kato, as opposed to Kato-cha. And it has like a little like a footnote that's like, oh, by the way, this makes sense because of Japanese Star Trek. Even though like Sulu's first name was Hikaru, which is a Japanese name, so just call him Mr. Hikaru, or just Hikaru. Just he's already got a like
or
part
Mr.
Of his name,
Sulu.
I don't know why. Well, what is Sulu? What country of origin is Sulu? Because that's definitely not Japanese.
Does it matter? It's in the future.
That's also what I'm thinking. Is like they were just like Asian. They just like give me some Asian names. What country? Just Asian.
Mr. Chang. Mr.
Yogi Boy
Habatabad.
Chang. I can't get pages to load.
Why would you need pages to load?
I was gonna look up to see when that Green Hornet comic was set.
We're
on Amazon.
busy.
See if any. I could do two things. I've been a font of entertainment and information for the past few minutes while these pages have not been loading.
You have.
What are you typing? What are you doing? We're busy.
Looking it up faster than you.
Yeah, it's probably true. Like it's like when I use Skype, things just don't load, or they take a long time. I'm exiting out of this. And then I was also going to look up on Wikipedia Kato's country of origin.
Wait, which one?
If it's from the Green Hornet. Because if it's Japanese, it's definitely supposed to be Kato. If he's like Chinese, then I have no idea.
I mean, it sounds like a
sure
Japanese
Kato.
name, and if he is Japanese, it should be Kato. But
Yeah,
I would also be willing to believe that, being 30s America, that someone would see his name, just say Kato, and then he would be expected not to correct them, or else he'd get hit.
just go work on the railroad.
I don't see
When did
it
it come
Amazon.
out? Because I know in that Bruce Lee movie, the Dragon the Bruce Lee story, which was awesome. Have you seen that?
Which one?
Dragon the Bruce Lee story?
Oh, no.
Oh my god, dude, it's so good. I'll get to that in a minute. Like he's like up for the role of Kato in the Green Hornet, but I thinking back, I don't remember if it was like a new version of it or if it was the original Green Hornet, and that would have been like the 60s. But he didn't get the job, or no, I think it's that he had to wear the face mask because he was too Asian for television.
What does that mean?
Racism, basically. But there's a bit where like he's making movies in China and he's loving it because the Chinese people love him, and he doesn't feel appreciated in America and stuff, and racism and whatnot.
I thought the Japanese and Chinese were like not fond of each other.
Did I say that he was in Japan?
No, I guess you said Chinese. I forgot he was up for Kato, so for a second there I thought he was Japanese. I don't know why I thought that.
Well, he's American, first of all, sir. He was born in America. Therefore, he's America. Anyway, so like his wife, who is Mary Samsonite from Dumb and Dumber, she's like, let's go back to America. The kids want to live in America. And he like flips out and he goes on this tirade about like how people are racist to him, and he puts his body through a door just out of like manly passion. It's fantastic. It's like a closet door, so it doesn't do anything, luckily, I guess. But he's just like next to it, and he flips out, just like flings his body into it, and then he's just fine. He just continues with the scene. What am I looking at? Green Hornet.
There's a Green Hornet Year 1, Volume 1, that says it's set in 30s Chicago.
Okay, well, it did say it started in 1936, so
yeah,
okay.
Assuming that's true across the comic.
Who wrote it?
Matt Wagner.
Oh, that sounds familiar, actually.
Sure.
I don't know why.
I was going to say, they mentioned J. Edgar Hoover in the comic, so I was wondering if that could date it at all, but he was in office of the FBI from 1935 to 1972, so that doesn't help much.
So transvestite?
That too.
Apparently, oh yeah, I think they do mention this in that Bruce Lee movie, but in Hong Kong, the show Green Hornet is called the Kato Show.
He's the star.
I mean, he was like in the scene they show. I mean, obviously it's a scene filmed for the movie, but in that movie it was pretty badass. He just tears apart the set basically. They're just like, here, go from here and get down to the ground, however you want, and he just like martial arts it. Martial arts is it?
The Kato story. Everybody's afraid of Kato.
Okay, in 1936, in the premiere of the radio program, so this is the original version, he's presented as being Japanese, so his name's Kato.
Alright. I mean...
Okay, wait. But by 1939, the invasion of China by the Empire of Japan made this bad for public relations, and from that year until 1945, Britt Reed's Japanese valet, which is in quotes, in the show's opening, was then simply identified by the announcer as his faithful valet. Let's see. There was a passing reference to him being a Korean, like in quotes, a Korean, which somehow makes it worse. Let's see. He's been referred to as Filipino. Oh god. In recent years, there's been a growing but equally erroneous belief that Kato was initially said to be a Filipino of Japanese ancestry. So pretty much no matter how you slice it, his name is Kato.
I mean, I don't say Kato because I think it should be pronounced Kato, but because I assume that the people around him are saying Kato, because it's the 30s.
They just see it written down first, and then they meet him. Oh, funny little fella, ain't ya? Wow. Okay. Well, I'm glad we figured this out. You heard it here first, listener. Just the one. It's Kato.
Who is it? Who is our one listener?
I don't know. I'm pretty sure Natasha listens. Well, that's because we're adorable.
We are.
Like, if we got together, bam, that'd be it.
Oh, we'd make such a cute baby.
Somehow. We'd adopt the cutest baby.
We'd find a way.
Nature always finds a way. Jurassic Park.
Jeff Goldblum.
Kelly sent me this picture of it was like a fake, I assume it was a fake toy, of Jimmy Buffett from Jurassic World, and he comes with like his 2 margaritas, and at the bottom it says comes with frozen concoctions. For the kids.
Yeah. But also it's a real tiny margarita, so keep it away from the kids.
That wouldn't get you drunk. Maybe if you were like a baby. Or a gnat.
That's why I said to keep it away from the kids, Dane.
So what's next in the Comic Bento?
Oh, I was just going to say Green Hornet's good. I'd recommend it.
Yeah, I just read it. I love me some Mark Waid.
Yeah, he's a real good writer. And like I said, I didn't know anything about Green Hornet going in, so I didn't have any expectations. And it blew those expectations away slightly, because it was good.
I think he's got more than one, so it might be worth looking into. I know Kevin Smith did some as well, so those might be good.
I don't think I've ever read anything by Kevin Smith.
I have a Spider-Man comic. I've had it for years, and I've still never read it.
Yeah.
It's like a crossover with Black Cat, and then I have 2 of his Batman comics that I've read both of them, and they're both really good. I'm still waiting for the 3rd one, which finishes the series.
Guess he's written more than I realized.
Yeah, he did some Green Arrow back in like the 90s, I think, which is how I think pretty much how I got to start in comics.
He did some Daredevil too, right?
Yeah, I think I have that, but I haven't read it yet because like Joe Quesada does the art, and I guess it was on one of his days when he's not good at it because Daredevil looks like Hulk Hogan in like his suit, like he's got this giant upper body, and it's to the point that it's like how can he pass as a human when he's just like out wearing his lawyer suit?
So I guess there's a reason that Joe Quesada just has an office job now. He's just the editor-in-chief?
Yeah, I think it's his fault that people can't smoke in Marvel anymore, like in the comics. Like because Wolverine hasn't been able to have a cigar in like 10 years.
Because he showed too many people smoking, and the censors got fed up with it. I
think, I don't know, someone he knew like died of some smoking-related illness, but it's like... It's a comic book. I know. Like you shouldn't. Put your personal politics in the comics all you want, Nick Spencer, but don't make an across the board decision for every comic at a company. Like if he writes a comic and he has a traditionally smoking character and he doesn't want them to smoke, that's fine. That's him writing it.
Yeah.
But when you're put into a seat of power, don't make because there's like Nick Fury and Wolverine, they're like cigar chomping badasses, and it's like, oh well, now they can't smoke cigars, but we can get away with it by just having it in every single movie and every single alternate universe comic book. It's kind of annoying.
So is no one allowed to smoke, or is it like just the good guys aren't allowed to smoke?
I'm pretty sure nobody's. I don't think I've seen anyone smoke in a Marvel comic in a long, long time.
I never thought about it.
Which is weird. It hasn't been very effective, I guess, because I still think of Wolverine. Anytime I draw Wolverine, he's always got a cigar in his mouth.
It just feels right.
I haven't been reading comics since, or I've been reading comics since after he did that. So I've barely read any comics where Wolverine has actually smoked. I just know it's such like a thing,
Where did this memory come from, Dane?
Inception.
Well, now I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that because I haven't ever thought about that.
That'll probably bother you.
Probably.
Sometimes I make little references to it. I have a Greg Rucka Wolverine comic, where he gets flung into a forest or something, and he takes a broken cigar out of his pocket, and he's like, that was the last one, or something.
Saving that for 10 years.
This was from 2003.
Saving that for some time.
Derek Robertson, who did most of the first half of The Boys, did it, and he did the art, and he draws Wolverine actual size. He is 5'3" in that comic. It's hilarious looking. He's so wide and tiny. He's just adorable.
He's great. So
he got real lazy towards the end of his run on The Boys, especially with Butcher's hair.
Did he?
Sometimes Butcher's hair just looked like a helmet.
Weird. Helmet.
We never found out what was going on with the Frenchman.
What do you mean?
His French was wrong.
Was it?
The way he spoke French was incorrect, apparently. And the place he was from was called Franglais, which is French. I think it means French English.
I need to read that again. I don't remember some of these details.
Yeah, I was thinking about it. I was going through just like looking through some of the books the last couple of days, and I'm like, oh my god, why haven't I reread this? It's so good. Because I remember liking it more in the beginning. Like the first 3 volumes, I think, were my favorite. But it's still so good, as it goes on.
Yeah. Yeah, one of the first full things that I read. Or at least... Actually, I take that back. It was one of the first comics I read, but at the time, the first time I read it, it was not finished.
Oh yeah? How far was it?
I can't remember, but I read through, I think, just the first 5 volumes. It was whatever you had at the time to let me borrow.
Okay, so I lent them to you.
Yeah.
So I know you eventually read them online, right?
Yeah. I mean,
okay.
No. That would be illegal.
That'd be illegal. Well, you could have just said you downloaded them, like, for money.
I mean, I downloaded them for money.
For money. So, next Bento comic.
Yeah, that would be Harbinger, which I also didn't know anything about going in, really. I just knew that it was one of the many Valiant comics that I assumed you wanted me to read.
Hell yeah.
Because the only Valiant comics I had read before that were Quantum and Woody, or at least was it 3 volumes?
Yeah.
That run.
I think... Oh yeah, that run, and then you read Delinquents, right?
I read The Delinquents, which was the crossover between Quantum and Woody and Archer and Armstrong, and I read the first
and then you read
volume of
Quantum and Woody Must Die?
No. Is that the newest one?
Oh, I thought you read that. It's the newest. It's not that new, but it's the newest, Quantum and Woody.
Yeah, no, I don't think I've read that yet.
You read that.
I read what was it, Q2 or what, Quantum and Woody 2 or something?
Yeah, the Return or whatever.
Something like that, yeah. Which then afterwards part of the way through, you told me that it was like not connected to the rest of the continuity at all, and it
was a continuation of the 90s comic.
Yeah, I think I just lost interest immediately. And so I don't remember much from that. And then I did read like the first volume, I think, of Archer and Armstrong. And then I got sidetracked by other stuff and forgot to keep reading. I did not
expect to like Archer and Armstrong as much as I did.
Yeah, it's good.
Like I read that one first, like out of all the Valiant books I got, because I was like, this is gonna be crappy. I was like, whoa, this is hilarious.
Yeah, I got some. I mean, I assume most of these series aren't comedies.
No, Quantum Woody and Archer and Armstrong are comedies. Ivor Time Walker has like it has a comedic element to it, but I wouldn't call it a comedy like the other two. Humor. Yeah, it has a sense. It's by the same writers, Archer and Armstrong. And I think that's it for the comedies. Asmus does Quantum Woody. Fred Van Lente does Archer and Armstrong and Ivor. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that's like pretty much a comedy.
Yeah, Harbinger. It was good. It wasn't enough of a full story. Like I'll just need to keep reading it. Really. Like it didn't feel complete. It was like watching the first half of a movie. But
I thought of it as like if Chronicle hadn't ended.
Okay.
The movie Chronicle.
Yeah, I guess I could say that. It seemed like it had more of a... I mean, it kind of fell into that trope that it seems most comics do, which is it's just about some young white guy who suddenly has powers and is thrust into this magical world. Rap. I'm sure he does.
This magical world.
But,
wasn't it like the streets of Pittsburgh?
And a skyscraper that it turns out to be a school for a bunch of other superpowered people. Yeah.
That's true.
I think that counts as special.
Out of there, which, most comics would have been him, like, learning there, as opposed to... Like, it pretty much changes in the second volume. Like, he gets his own team and stuff.
Yeah, that
to, like, fight against Toya Harada.
That definitely went faster than I expected, because, I mean, I did expect it to be some sort of betrayal or, not what he expected.
Why, you just automatically expected the Japanese guy to be evil?
No, I just expect the first person to
Well,
say
why not?
it. Because it's not 1944.
You're saying the Japanese can't be evil? We're trying to put them on a pedestal? That's racism.
I'm just saying they did their time in the internment camps. Yeah, no. I assume the first person or persons who tell a main character in a comic that they're on their side are probably going to betray them pretty quickly.
What about Joe? He was on Pete's side for most of it.
The schizophrenic?
Yeah.
The crazy person who led the bad guys to him immediately?
Yeah, but he needed drugs.
No, he needed those drugs.
Yeah, like, I don't think you get it. Like, have you ever done heroin?
You either... Once you start doing heroin, you don't not do heroin.
What was that in Scanner Darkly? Or Engineers? They're talking about I forgot what the drug is called, but he's like, you've either done it or God, I can't remember what it is. It's about how, like, nobody goes cold turkey because it's either you're currently doing it or you've never tried it.
Which
Something
is,
like that.
which is the point I was trying to get across.
Butchered all of that.
But yeah, Harbinger's good. I liked it. Like I said, I definitely need to read more of it. Like, if I just stopped now, I wouldn't like it. I like it because I know that it's still got somewhere to go.
Yeah, I think it lasts, it's 5 volumes, and then there's a 6th volume, which is like a miniseries they did afterwards. And then there's like a miniseries for Armor Hunters, which doesn't actually have Peter in it. It's basically just characters that will show up in the next volume, Torque and Faith.
The fat girl?
Yeah. Has she been on it?
Yeah, she's in the first volume. Yeah.
Okay.
She saves him. He falls off of the tower after attacking Japanese man. What's his name? Harada?
Toyo Harada.
Harada.
Tojo Harada.
He's... I don't think most people will get that, surprisingly.
I'm fine with that.
No, that's probably for the best. I don't think there's a big crossover between our demographic and people who would understand that.
Well, then why do I get it? Why do you get it?
Because we're cultured.
That's fair.
And well-read. No, he falls off the skyscraper, and then Faith comes out of nowhere, flying, and grabs him. They land. After...
Okay.
And she had shown up earlier where they wanted him to try to activate her without using the machine that, has a 25% chance of blowing people's heads off.
Yeah, it's like a pretty small risk, though, for superpowers.
Yeah, I'd probably take it.
I know, right? Want me some superpowers.
Yeah.
Faith's pretty rad. She's in, like, she's a main character after that. And
they seem to
she
be
is
trying
on the
a little...
Unity team for, like, 2 issues.
They seem to be trying a little too hard to, like, make it clear that she is a nerd. Like, everything she said was about some TV show or another that she was geeking out about. Like, oh, what do you want to talk about? Firefly? Star Trek? Star Wars? Supernatural? I could do whatever.
Just Whedon.
Twilight?
She's getting her own miniseries, I think next year. Like it's like a 4-issue miniseries. And then she had like her own issue that was in the 4th volume of Unity. Like, she was on the team for literally 2 issues.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to the rest of Valiant because you just keep
you should be
singing its praises. Is there a lot of crossover?
I keep needling you about it.
Pretty much. Is there a lot of crossover between series, or is it kind of like a few kind of subsets?
I think I pretty much told you what the crossovers were. I think I pretty much told you what all of them were. There's Harbinger Wars with Bloodshot and Harbinger. There's Delinquents, obviously, with Quantum Woody and Archer and Armstrong. Unity is a team book. Unity crosses over with Exo Man of War. Armor Hunters was an event that crosses with Unity and Exo Man of War. Plus, there's the Bloodshot and Armor Hunters miniseries that go along with it. The Valiant is Valiant's basically a Unity book. Like it's like, but like everybody shows up in like this big battle scene. Book of Death is pretty much a Unity book. Dead Drop is like just a group of characters. It's like Archer, Exo-Man of War, the lady detective from Quantum and Woody, and Betamax from Quantum and Woody. Who is just he's so positive. He's fantastic.
Who was Betamax? It's been a while since I've read it.
He's like half a robot. Like literally one side of his body is a robot, and the other half is a dude.
Okay.
Made up of like crappy 80s technology. I totally forgot about him until I read him in Dead Drop.
Yeah, that sounds familiar. I think I remember that. It's been like a year since I read Quantum and Woody.
Eternal Warrior showed up in like Exo-Man of War and Archer and Armstrong. He showed up recently in Ivor Time Walker, along with Armstrong, actually. So yeah, I mean, people, Bloodshot and Archer and Armstrong had a crossover. They show up from time to time. Like, it's established that they're all in the same universe.
Yeah. But they don't... They deal with different types of problems, I imagine.
Yeah, definitely. Like, X-Men of War is, like, world-ending problems, and Unity is kind of along with that. And then, Quantum and Woody are, like, just doing their own thing, being hilarious. Archer and Armstrong deal with all these, like, secret societies and stuff. Eternal Warrior just kind of does his own thing. Ninjak does, like, missions for the MI6. Harbinger's, just doing his own... he's not even called Harbinger. Peter Stanchek is doing his thing against Toya Harada.
Yeah, when I started reading it, I assumed he was the Harbinger.
Yeah.
And then
Shadow Man's just all off by himself.
Okay. Yeah, he was...
Yeah, I meant to correct you, actually, when you were talking about it. You kept calling him Harbinger.
Oh, that was on purpose. Like, I knew he wasn't at that point. I was just... It's like when you call Sam and Dean Supernatural.
I don't think he actually has, like, a superhero name.
And I'm definitely going to have to start reading the Valiant stuff now, because, like, now that I've started from close to the beginning, I'm going to want to keep that momentum.
Yeah, damn right.
Yeah. I guess just real quick, the last comic in the bento box was Captain Marvel, which I didn't read. Like, I didn't read this time around. I had already read it and have not reread. So I don't really remember much about that story, but I do know that I like Kelly Sue DeConnick's Captain Marvel. She's pretty good.
Yes, she married well.
That's true. I always get a little nervous when I see that, like, a comic is written by the wife.
I'm not saying she's not a good writer. I'm not saying that she's, like, only writing comics because she's married to Matt Fraction. I'm just saying that of all the husbands she could have picked, she picked a good one.
Yeah,
she got the guy who writes sex criminals.
Yeah, except for that time he had stupid hair, apparently.
Yeah, on Seth Meyer. Myers?
I don't care.
Oh, that's what I was going to say. Peter, I don't think he really has, like, a superhero name, but in the 90s he was also called Sting.
Like, do the police, do Sting and the police exist in this world?
I would assume. It's basically the real world, but with these characters in it.
Alright. I assume that's where the name came from then. That he was just a big Sting fan.
He probably stung stuff with his powers.
Yeah. Oh, they do. I think they called one of his powers the Sting. Like they call it like a mental whiplash or something.
That's probably where it comes from then.
Yeah, maybe.
He's kind of doing his own thing right now, though. Like, he hasn't really shown up in much since the Harbinger Omegas miniseries. But he is healed, I think, luckily, because he like had this big fight with Toyo at the end of the series, and he'd like just looked disgusting. Like, he looked like a friggin' hunchback at the end of it.
Oof.
But I think that he's healed now. Because, like, I wasn't sure for a while, because at the end of the series he was gross looking, but he used his powers to make himself look normal. So, and they never really got into whether or not he was still doing that, or whether he'd healed, but I'm pretty sure Toyo said he must have healed by now, so I'm assuming that he doesn't look like a freak.
I should hope not. I don't want to have to just see him, like, lumbering around all grotesque-like. for a whole series.
One arm longer than the other. Just in pain constantly.
Children screaming as
I'm
he walks
assuming
by.
he's going to make like a comeback because he wasn't in like the best place the last time we saw him.
Alright.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I'll get to that eventually. Yeah.
Yeah.
Captain Marvel's good too. I haven't read it in a while, but I know she went to space.
Yeah, I've only read the first volume, which is what came with the Bento. Like, I read it last year.
Yeah.
Or, I guess, this year? I don't know. I read it either late December or early January. And I have volumes 2 and 3, but I've not read them yet.
Yeah. You should definitely get the previous run, because I think that was even better.
Yeah,
which was
so that was really good.
Yeah, Kelly Sue DeConnick's first Captain Marvel run. Which I really liked it up until the end, at least. I think that was 3 or 4 volumes, and at the very end of the last one, they just kind of retconned everything, and it was pretty frustrating. But it was good up to that, so.
I'm still waiting to see what's going on with Daredevil. Like, what if that's being retconned or not?
Yeah. Cause did he fake his death at the end, or was he just planning on it?
No, he didn't at all. I don't know, was he planning on it? I know he didn't. I don't know if he was planning on it or not.
It seemed kind of unclear. Because he wanted to protect Foggy.
But he's definitely, apparently, back to having a secret identity in the new series,
Somehow.
And they haven't explained how.
Yeah.
So, Secret Wars. Secret Wars.
Yeah, maybe it's... Was there an Ultimate Daredevil?
Yeah, but he died back during Ultimatum.
So no one knew who he... Like, his identity wasn't common knowledge, public knowledge, or whatever?
Yeah. No, not at all.
Well, then maybe it's just... After Secret Wars, the universes have combined, and he gets his secret identity from the Ultimate Universe. It doesn't actually make any sense, but,
geez.
you know...
I mean, I guess I would have to be okay with that, because I can't think of a good way that they could, put that genie back in the bottle.
There's not one.
Unless they just go back to how it was before, where it's like everybody knows, but nobody, really thinks about it too much.
He gets hit on the head really hard, and then Foggy goes around and is like, "All right, everybody, when he wakes up, just pretend like you don't know who he is."
Just humor him. He's blind.
He can't see the pitying looks on their faces. Oh,
poor little feller.
All right. Well, I think that's a pretty good recap of what we've been reading lately.
Yeah, let's probably wrap it up while we still have internet.
Yeah, we're having some connection problems here. So, we'll quit while we're ahead.
I didn't even know what this episode was. It was just us talking about stuff.
We talked about stuff.
Which, I mean, we've had themes for the past several episodes. But I mean, I guess this was the original intent of the podcast, was just talk about stuff.
Yeah.
So I don't even Comic Bento, I guess, was like the subject.
Sort of.
We just got really, really sidetracked about most things, especially about whether or not it's Kato or Kato. It's Kato.
Yeah. Or Kato. Who knows?
Or not that.
All right. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you, specifically, person who assumes I'm talking to you.
Probably Natasha. Thanks, Natasha.
Thanks, someone who isn't Natasha, but also Natasha. Bye, everybody.
Later.